Okay, moving along with reviewing the Demons, talking about changes, big changes since they came out with the new edition. And we'll talk about some of the special characters, and this is Skarbrand. Yeah, I know, it's not, but, he doesn't have his own model yet. You could buy a Bloodthirster and not put wings on it or something, but this guy's, kind of looks Bloodthirster-esque. I gave him 2 axes, came from an orc kit. So Skarbrand has probably become the greatest close combat killing melee machine in 6th edition. He only, to my knowledge, has 2 limitations, but we'll get into that. So let's talk about him. He's a HQ for Demons. He's a Khorne demon, which means he unlocks Demon Princes of Khorne to be heavy support. He's a close combat killing machine. He's a straight out Bloodthirster that can't fly. He has no wings. So since he has no wings, he's got to walk. So how do you use this guy? Because he's basically weapon skill, ballistic skill, and initiative 10. And he wounds always on a 2+, plus he has armor bane, so when he hits vehicles, he hits like he has Melta, so he gets the 2d6 extra. So he can destroy anything in the game. If he's your warlord, he deals instant death with all of his close combat attacks. Oh, now you're seeing why he's a close combat killing machine. He's gonna, basically hit on initiative 10 unless he charges into cover. So how do you use him? Well, let's talk about that. He has limitations. He has to go on foot, which means if you're on, say, the hammer and anvil deployment, if he had to walk, it'll take him rounds to get down the board, and your opponent will rightly shoot the heck out of him so that he's dead. If he deep strikes, then he has the limitation of, possibly deviating, and you don't know when he's going to come in. He's going to spend at least 1 round getting shot. So you have to figure out, how do I use this guy? Because his other limitations are he doesn't have grenades. So if he charges into cover, he goes on initiative 1. He still gets his initiative 10 Hammer of Wrath, but after that he goes to initiative 1. He does not have Eternal Warrior, so if you go up against a bunch of force weapons, he could die right away. He does, however, have Space Marine armor, so he's got a 3-up armor save. He's got his typical demon save, 5-up. He gets all of the benefits of being a demon of Khorne. Strangely enough, he's not actually a demon of Khorne. I mean, Khorne sort of kicks him out in the fluff, but that doesn't matter. Alright, so how do you use him? I mean, he's going to win any combat, and he's safest in combat, so if you can get him into a combat, he's safest there, you can't shoot him. Unfortunately, he probably wins it on round 1 unless he's going up against fearless opponents. So, let's say he's your warlord, and how are you going to use him? Well, you want to get him to your opponent, and to do that, unless you have a highly mobile opponent, if he goes up against Dark Eldar, he has some serious limitations because they're going to fly away from him and shoot him with poisoned weapons. But if he goes up against anything else, what you're going to do is you're going to get him to your opponent. So to do that, you're going to use, hopefully, several things that are available. One is an Aegis line, because if you take 70 points worth of Aegis line with your demon army, you can take the Aegis line and a comm tower, and that comm tower lets you re-roll reserve rolls. So on round 2, you're going to re-roll your reserves to get people in on deep strike. But more importantly, you're going to think about the order that you roll your deep strike, because you want to roll, if I understand the rules correctly, roll for say a unit of bloodletters with a banner or an icon, and you want to get them on the board first. If they happen to have a banner or icon, either one, then Skarbrand can land next to them without deviating, as long as he's within 6 inches. So you would roll for those guys, and you probably, want to also have another unit that has a instrument of chaos, because that would be able to bring in someone else. So let's say you have bloodletters, you get them on the table. They also have another unit, say Demonettes, with an instrument. Then you can pull Skarbrand in. So you want to be able to sort of Congo line units in. They're probably going to FAQ how instruments work, so you won't be able to pull a unit with an instrument in and then immediately pull in another one and sort of Congo line them in. So don't rely on that. Rely on the fact that a comm tower always lets you reroll your reserves, and you can't destroy a comm tower. Short of a vortex grenade, it doesn't go away. So you put something like a soul grinder next to that comm tower and way down range, and you're good. Okay, how does Skarbrand work? Now, he is an independent killing machine, but he's not an independent character, so he is his own unit. He works well, though, by boosting your army. He gives everyone around him a hatred and preferred enemy. Everyone. Friend and enemy. Just like in 4th and 5th edition. So, you have to think about how this works. Skarbrand, I know it's heretical to say this, but Skarbrand works best with Slaanesh. You probably want to have some bloodletters because they give you a banner that you can't deviate from, but outside of that, you want your army to go first. And so Skarbrand gives that bubble of hatred preferred enemy, and if your unit strikes second, they're going to get beaten down. But if they strike first, then they'll probably wipe the enemy, or at least do a lot of damage. And Demonettes do much better than bloodletters. Same thing with Seekers and Fiends of Slaanesh, even potentially Furies, because they could have rending and fly. All of those are going to be far better than Khorne units at striking first. On top of that, you used to be able to use Nurgle units and rely on their high toughness to make it to their part of the combat, but I wouldn't do that now because their toughness is no longer 5. So, except for Beasts of Nurgle, I would skip using Nurgle with Skarbrand. So, the advice would be, take Skarbrand, take some troop units with banners and instruments, Aegis line, so that you can reroll, and start Congo lining in your reserves without using the instrument trick. So, get a troop unit in. Hopefully it's a troop unit with a banner, or if it's not, it's a troop unit with an instrument, because that troop unit can then pull in the banner. And you want to think about the order you roll your reserves. So the benefit to an instrument is you can pull in someone who's still in reserves. Use that comm tower, if you have it, on an Aegis line to re-roll your reserves. Get them in where you want them, realizing that they're not going to be on the board till round 2, which means they don't get into combat till round 3, but that's not too bad. Unless you're doing Dawn of War or Vector, what's it called? Vanguard Strike, where the board might allow you to charge on round 2, but you got to really think about how your opponent deployed in order to use that. So if you're going second and you know where your opponent is, you might be able to get Skarbrand to him. Okay, one other thing to think about with Skarbrand, where he does benefit from a Khorne unit, if you're going all out, Fleshhounds are fast. You can put them on the board on round 1, run them, scout them, and get pretty darn close to your opponent. And on round 2, if Skarbrand comes deep striking in, then those Fleshhounds are there, and they might be able to assault on round 2 because they didn't deep strike, and that would allow those, or Fiends of Slaanesh, or any other beast to assault near Skarbrand and benefit from his aura. One other thing to think about with Skarbrand is protecting him against force, weapons, and psychic powers and such. And if you take Karanak, the Hound, he causes he causes wounds on Psychers whenever they roll any sort of double on a psychic test. So you put Skarbrand there, and then you have Karanak with a bunch of bloodletters or Fleshhounds, or Blood Crushers, and he gives a 12-inch protection bubble also by making Psychers less likely to use their powers because they're afraid of taking a perils. So, this is an army. Demons now requires a lot of synergy. You have to think, okay, how do I use them? So you think about how you get your units in by drawing one after another, and then how to protect each other by things like forcing Psychers to take perils on a double, which will definitely decrease the chance that someone wants to use a force weapon, because there's a good chance that they fail and die. And Skarbrand still has an invul save, so he's pretty good.